The future will be unlike the present and unlike the past. It's not going to be like 1984, and it won't be like Brave New World. It's going to be a combination of everything in between. Now, I'm going to talk to you today about everything that is changing right now and allow you to have insight as to what will happen in the near future. In this video, I'm going to go step by step and go through each one of these, and you will see what's changing and where it will end up. You got to see this. Let's begin. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Nobody knows when it's going to happen. Wall Street wakes up to the default threat. And then in connection with this, calls to move away from the US dollar are growing, but the greenback is still king. There has been a lot of talk of going away from the US dollar, the BRICS currencies. Maybe it's going to be some central bank digital currency. All these things are changing and they're in flux, but we do know that no reserve currency lasts forever. At this time, the US is used as approximately 58% of total reserves. Globally, it is big, but we see the share changing. And I really believe that what's happening has accelerated recently with the countries attaching themselves to the BRICS network. And we will see what happens along with Saudi Arabia saying, hey, we don't want to be monogamous anymore. Interesting stuff. That's one. Let's go on to two. You can see it here, retirement. It's just an article out of the Wall Street Journal, and all I'm trying to highlight, there's a chart on here just showing the expected versus real retirement age and percentage change in US civilian workforce by age. The whole point of this was simply to highlight that a lot of people today are unable to retire. And they have this not because, hey, it's enjoyable, I'll go to work and, keep active, I'll keep alive. But for a lot of people, they just can't afford life. And it's not as if they live a fancy lifestyle, they've got simple lifestyles and they can't afford it because stuff costs too much. Why does stuff cost too much? It's because the central banks printed too much, and it's because the government printed too much. And this happens to be just one factor along, not just from 2020 and onward, but many, many years before that, continuously making it more difficult for you to live your life simply. That's number two. Let's look at this. Alphabet CEO's pay soars to $226 million. You heard that correctly. On huge stock award, as well as this. Luxury goods giant LVMH, Louis Vuitton, becomes the first European company to surpass $500 billion in market value. So while we have some circumstances of mass poverty and things are much, much worse for a large group of people, for others, we've never seen it this good. So that is the type of thing that is always going to be there, but the divide in between the rich and poor will continue to grow. And that's why you're seeing some areas, whether it is Cayman Islands, whether it is Dubai, that are looking at just more money just flowing in. Prices of everything just continues to go up. Some people, maybe they're expats and they were living there before, or maybe the locals, they have to leave. They cannot afford this because the money is going places, but they don't want to live in a lot of cities. New York, they don't want to live in San Francisco, which we're going to talk about in a second. Why? Why wouldn't they want to live in these places? Well, clearly a lot of people do, millions of people do, but we're seeing circumstances changing. And I'm going to show you why that is the case in this video in just a minute. But that was the next thing. Let me show you, I believe, number 4, how the world is spending $1.1 trillion on climate technology. Whether you like it or not, this is happening. I said this in a video recently that some people would say, this is all nonsense. Green is not green, and eco-friendly is a con, all of these things. Regardless of your opinion, of my opinion on the subject, governments are and will spend trillions of dollars on this stuff. So you can get behind it in terms of investing, or you can decide not to. It's up to you. But whether there's a recession, whether there is some sort of economic calamity, we are looking at massive investment into these things, whether it's solar, whether it's copper, for instance, that's used in electric vehicles, whether it's going to be lithium, whether that's going to be nuclear with the uranium, doesn't matter. The point here is that there's a lot of money going in, trillions of dollars, in fact, and they give you some charts in this article of really eye-popping visuals in here, but you can see how that, I should probably attach that screen so you can see it. Looking at it, I mean, it tells us a pretty good story about what's happening. You can see the renewables, renewable energy being one that, in my opinion, is a large bulk of where that money's been spent, at least over the last decade. You're starting to add in electrified transport, electrified heat, and other that has grown as well. But certainly renewable energy is just rocketing in the amount of money that's been flowing in. So now we talk about the next one. This one right here, basically just trying to highlight it. Wells Fargo warns of more office market stress on the way. We're talking about commercial real estate, which is something that, I mean, let's be honest, it's not doing well. Commercial real estate woes run deeper than in past downturns. Why? This is what I wanted to get to. Remote work and e-commerce are reducing demand for office and retail space. So think about it. People don't go to the Zellers and Walmart, I mean, not Walmart's, actually Walmart too, but the Kmarts and the Sears and the JC Penney's and these type of really big stores. They occupied large portions of the different malls and the strip malls, and they employed a lot of people. But now people can, for the most part, get a lot of that stuff online, and they're doing that. That's one aspect of it. And I really think that for a lot of people, they're just spending more time in their own house. And so they are actively attempting to do away with going downtown. They don't want to go to the main central hub for work anymore. And workers are demanding it. They're saying, no, 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 you're not going to send me back to work. I'm staying home. I'm remote working, all these different things. While other businesses are saying, if you want to stay home, you can permanently stay home, you're fired. Okay, so that's kind of the thing, but I do believe that working from home and e-commerce are both going to be more of the norm rather than the exception. That's the next thing that's changing. Then we have this, U.S. presidential hopefuls rally against a digital dollar ahead of 2024 elections. Okay, and one of those including DeSantis. So what we're seeing here, the point the reason I'm mentioning this is that a lot has changed in terms of the suggestion of what's happening with the dollar, specifically in this case here, central bank digital currencies. We will be forced, the general public will be forced on to have a central bank digital currency. In fact, I did an entire video about central bank digital currencies, everything you need to know about that. If you watch this video at the end, I'm gonna display that for you in just really good detail. You definitely gotta see it, okay? So right now we are facing central bank digital currencies. What does that mean? Well, essentially that there's even less oversight, less control. The transparency that really doesn't exist today is completely gone. And then we go even one step further where we're having institutions like the BIS, the Bank for International Settlements, creating their own systems to work with other central banks with their central bank digital currencies. I mean, it's crazy and it's terrible, but that's the way it's headed. That's another change. Let's go on to the next. San Francisco is a postcard from a driverless car future. Here's what it's like. So in this article here, they're basically just talking about the different cars, different systems that are set up right now where you can be going around San Francisco and seeing no person behind the car at all. It's just an empty car driving around, and they're saying it's like some weird version of the future that people don't like, for the most part anyway. And so that's happening. That's San Francisco. And it's strange, but things are changing. What we can definitely, we know this. All those Uber drivers, all those Lyft drivers, they are not going to be employed at some point in the future. What about food delivery? Same scenario there. What about any delivery, Amazon delivery, all these things? They are going towards autonomous vehicles. They're having a lot of problems. I'm not going to deny that. But the companies are investing billions and billions and billions into them. And so they're trying to make that work. What does that mean? Those jobs will be gone. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Even if it seems like it's way far out in the future, what's one thing that I always say? I always say this. time flies, man. I always find myself saying that time flies, man, because I just remember back when I started my YouTube channel. All right, had more hair, had a lot less gray hair too. Okay, things change, they change fast. Am I right? Let me know. Put it in the comments. San Francisco Target stores lock its entire product range behind security glass as crime spirals out of control. Disgusting, by the way, to even see this. If they're going to show it here, you could just see that video. I don't know if I could play it. Let me try and play this for you live. Let's see what I can do. Here we go. Look at this. Rewind to the beginning. If you could see that, hopefully you can see that. All of this stuff, like the cosmetics and stuff, yeah, okay, one of them is $20, one of them is $50, one of them maybe even $100, but they're locking up. I thought this was like Costco's, frozen food aisle, but apparently not. Okay, this is like regular stuff, guys. Come on. This is terrible. You could say it's politics, and certainly maybe that's part of it, but it is really, truly something when you've got homes that are $2 million, $4 million, all this stuff. You got the richest people in the United States, for the well, New York as well, but live in there. And then you've got this. That is a bad change, a bad direction. And in my opinion, I keep putting this on Twitter over and over again. I posted this video. I said, flee the big cities. They are rotten. They are, at the very least, have another home somewhere else. When you gotta go, you gotta go. And you're gonna be ready, hit that switch, you have your plan B, you head out and you go. Okay, that might change fast. So you need that second plan in place. Oh, I'll rent the place if I need it, or oh, I'll figure it out when the time comes. Have your plan B in place. Important stuff. Okay, the cities are rotten. And then I just want to show you what's happening specifically with China. All right, a lot of stuff is happening with China. This is interesting. You can see China going towards world leaders, shaking hands, doing business, making things work. But he's hardening his stance against the US. That's very true. We've seen that a lot, like it's been going on for years, in fact. How one Chinese ambassador's comments set off a wave of European fury. Isn't it interesting? Beijing appeared to be scrambling Monday to contain the fallout from comments by its top diplomat in Paris, who sparked uproar by questioning the legitimacy of former Soviet states. And essentially what he had said was, we respect this, these places, but essentially kind of suggesting that, they were part of the Soviet Union. Lithuania, as one example, said they occupied us. It wasn't something that we wanted. China says it respects, there you go. China says it respects ex-Soviet nations after envoy's unacceptable comments on sovereignty. What about this? National security is of paramount importance in our relationship with China, according to my baby girl, Janet Yellen. We will not compromise on these concerns, even when they force trade-offs with our economic interests. So saying, hey, things are getting tough, things are not so good, but we got to do our business and we got to remain tough. That's what they are saying. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? I think it is big changes all around. We could see that. But in the end, and why I put that at the end, is China and the US, China-Taiwan situation, and of course, the West or NATO against Russia, and really BRICS nations, is something that we've got to pay attention to. So war is building up. We've got central bank digital currencies. We've got all of this stuff. You gotta understand the central bank digital currencies, and that's why I put this video right here. Watch this CBDC video, and I'll see you there.